Sairam. Let's start the study circle with 3 ohms. Oh. 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 A prayer to Swami. Dear Swami, we are so grateful to be able to meet here together in your presence today. While we are here together studying your word in your Bhagavatha Vahini, we ask that you open our ears and hearts to whatever it is you want us to learn. Please speak through each one of us and help us progress in our spiritual journey. Jai Sai Ram. Give me, I think we are having a little issue with the display. So, how can I change this display to?
Oh, in display settings, Sairam, go on the top. Next, yeah, click on that and swap presenter view. Swap.
Oh, I just want to duplicate
Yeah,
it.
duplicate is good.
All right. Sorry about that. I had a little display issue here. So just a quick reminder to mute your cell phones, please. Let's stay on the topic and let's try to leave our ego outside. It's a precious day today to start our discussion. So just as a review from yesterday's, we started with listening to chapter 7. That was about Vidura going to Dhritarashtra's palace, part of that palace where Dhritarashtra was living in, and talking to him, and of course reprimanding him, and also using some harsh tones to kind of get him to wake up from where he is. We actually discussed a little bit about Dhritarashtra's stupidity that Vidura was referring to. We talked about body-mind complex, forgetting all of his past actions, and how he preferred to live in comfort. We talked about the mindset that is required to give up these comforts. And then we ended with talking about Yudhishthira's character, which defined duty, care, forgiveness, and awareness of his own mistakes and errors. And with that, we talked, or rather, we read through, actually read through the discourse that Swami gave on forgiveness. And I think that discourse is from Satya Sai Speaks. So we will continue that discussion today and then take it from there. But before I do that, if there are any questions or anything, any pointers that we want to talk about, let's not go into forgiveness because we'll definitely be talking about that today. Okay, Sairam. So let's move along. This chapter is Vidura the counselor, and we were talking about forgiveness, which Swami calls is a great power. We do we want to read it one more time just to, yeah. So Om, can you please read this?
Forgiveness, the greatest power for a human being. The essential nature of love is sacrifice. Under any circumstance, it does not give room to hatred. It is love that brings even a person far away closer and more intimate to you. It is love that drives away the feeling of separateness and promotes the feeling of oneness. Love also raises a person from the animal to the human. Prem, love, is the pran, life force of man, and the pran itself is prem. One without love is like a lifeless corpse. Love is shown only to persons who are alive. No one will love a corpse. Love and life are therefore interrelated and intimately connected. In this worldly life, love is manifesting in several forms. such as the love between mother and son, husband and wife, and between relatives. This love based on physical relationships arises out of selfish motives and self interest, but the love of the divine is devoid of any trace of self interest. It is love for the sake of love alone. This is called bhakti, devotion. One characteristics of this love is to give and not receive. Secondly, love knows no fear. Thirdly, it is only for love's sake and not for a selfish motive. All these three angles of love jointly connote prapti, surrender. When one revels in this attitude of prapti, one experiences the bliss of the divine. For this, the prime requisite is shama, forgiveness. Only a person who has the attitude of shama can be considered to be endowed with sacred love. This cannot be learned from textbooks, nor can it be acquired from preceptors, nor from anyone else. It is to be cultivated by oneself in times of difficulties, trials, and tribulations that one is forced to meet. This quality of forbearance and forgiveness can take root only when we face problems and difficulties that cause grief and misery. When you are confronted with problems and difficulties, you should not get upset and become victims of depression, which is a sign of weakness. In such a situation, you should bring tolerance and an attitude of forgiveness into play and should not get agitated, giving rise to anger, hatred, and a revengeful attitude. You are embodiments of strength and not weakness. Therefore, in times of despair, you should be filled with the feeling of forbearance and be ready to forgive and forget. This quality of Shama, forgiveness, is the greatest power for a human being. If one loses this quality, he becomes demonic. Shama is Satyam, truth. Shama is Dharma, virtue. Shama is Ahimsa, non-violence. Shama is Yagna, sacrifice. Shama is Santosh, happiness. Shama is Daya, compassion. Shama is everything in the world.
Sairam, thank you. Kshama is everything. And thank you, Om, for reading. So with this, I actually had a few questions. Doesn't we can make it as long as we need to, but these are questions that I initially came up with. And I wanted to first, I think, based off of what Swami is saying, how is love related to forgiveness? So does love not have attachment? We do have attachment, I feel, every time we love something. Is forgiving people whom we love an expectation from that? So if love is what would form the basis of being able to forgive, then we obviously forgive our loved ones more than anyone else, most of the time, especially, mother and child, whatever that.
I feel when you forgive your child, say forgive the child, are you expecting a thank you for him that I've forgiven him, right? Or you are not concerned with that. You have done it and you meant it. So in that case, there's no expectation behind that forgiveness, that kind of forgiveness. If you love, you of course you love your child so much, someone that close, and you forgive, and you don't expect an thank you from the child. You may like him to behave well, that is a different thing. But an expectation of return of thank you, you don't expect that, right? So I feel, and you will forgive it too, forgiveness. You will not expect a thank you even for the child. You would like the child to do the correct thing. Yeah, that far is okay. So I feel there's no expectation when you are really have forgiven from your heart. Then there's no expectation. That's my thinking.
Sairam.
Sairam. The way I see is to answer that question, first we need to understand why we are not able to forgive. What is blocking us? What are all the, why are we not able to see? Let's say it's all perception, right? So somebody is doing something and we perceive that that is against what we think. That is, the perception comes there. The intent of that person may be in something else, whereas it affects you in some way, and you're affected by it. And so you're not able to forgive. So why you're not able to forgive? If we try to see that, then we can see the connection with love. Because if you are really treating everybody as divine, then there is no question of not being able to forgive. And for that, love is the prime criteria to see the divinity in everybody. So that love of being able to forgive the close, dear ones, that is slightly different. That is more due to affection than love. But I think what Swami means by love here is that universal love. That's what I see.
I think he talks about universal love later on for sure. But in our lives, when we actually have it, when we have to forgive someone, I feel when we have that kind of attack, for us, love in this body mind complex is mostly related to relatives, friends, and stuff like that. And it's always easier to forgive, family first, or hold it against them. Either ways, I mean, there are families that have gone through as well. But my point being that in today's world, yes, universal love comes later. In right now, like the first thing that we always talk about forgiveness or whatever is that someone has actually caused harm to us in the first place. That people who have caused harm to us, we let them harm only because of our attachment.
Yeah. See, I was thinking about this forgiveness. See, the thing is, we attach the action to the person. That is the most common fundamental thing that we do, because we are not able to de-link the action from because the action is what causes that hurt in us, and that what blocks us from forgiving that person. But we attach that action to that person, and so we only blame that person and not able to forgive that person. If we have to detach that action from the person, then we will be able to talk to that person, say our point of view without hurting, without being affected by it, and then get that clarified, and then it may work out. But because we are attaching the action with that person, we are not able to take that first step. So most of the time, I'm saying, so in some cases, the action may be so severe. For example, Ravana taking Sita and going. That action is so severe, and in that case, what did Rama do? Or did Rama forgive Ravana? War is there because Rama definitely has to show that is whatever done by Ravana is adharmic. So to establish the dharma, Rama has to fight and prove that that is not right, that is not accepted. So that is correct. But before, I don't know whether that happened. I don't know whether that he forgave Ravana. Yeah.
I think definitely Rama gave him definite multiple choices.
Yeah.
Multiple times he gave choice for him
Yeah.
to.
Yeah.
And so even
Shakaranji, can we hold it like?
yeah, and I think it appears that at the end of it, he actually forgives him, even though, yeah. And so I think he gave him a lot of chances and he never accepted. But I want to just focus a little bit on the other part of the law. So, I think last year or 2 years ago, I don't remember, there was a lady police officer, I think in Dallas or something, after a long shift.
She moved, yeah.
She went into a wrong apartment and
Right.
thought that it is her apartment. I don't know how she was able to open the door
And shot.
shot the person. And so it went into the court case. And the person who died at the end of the court session, he went and the brother of that deceased went and told her, "I forgive you."
Yeah.
And it was a very actually I listened to that video. It was a very touching scene where, of course, she has a remorse for what she has done. It was I mean, it cannot be so sometimes, we do not even forgive, just forget the person. We do not forgive the action, which might have been done without, any particular motive. Then because of that action, the impact of that action that governs our thing. So
Correct.
I think it is not just the person. That's what I feel.
Yeah.
See, I feel a lot of ego is concerned in it. That is the main thing. I forgive, but it is who is really forgiving? Me, the I, the me. That ego is forgiving. It's the ego talking, not the true me talking will forgive. Because true me doesn't even have to forgive. There's nothing to forgive to the true me. But this ego of me is the one that is hurt and is wanting to forgive. Forgiving is itself ego. If I'm forgiving, it means I'm higher than you, I'm letting it go. So that means already ego is taken over.
Point.
Sairam, to forgive, see, we can forget about others, even us, we make mistakes and we forgive ourselves for making a wrong, um, choice or made a mistake and, the consequences. So we regret. Do we forgive, So that is one thing. We learn to forgive ourselves to begin with. And then to forgive other people, so there's a saying, to err is human, to forgive is divine. So to forgive, there's a divine quality that we have to develop. But if we keep the anger or grudge or whatever it is that we think, injustice was done towards us, it's like if we keep that inside, that anger or, grudge inside, it is like the pot holding the acid. The acid will corrode the pot only. So this anger in us will hurt us more than it hurt the other person, right? So for
Yeah.
our benefit, I think it is better to forgive whatever has been done to us. Yeah.
So, Sairam, I completely agree with that because it's my own personal experience of going through situations, feeling hurt, for different reasons. I could be wrong, someone else could be wrong, whatever it may be. At the end of the thing, you get hurt and then you're resentful. I was resentful that, how come they didn't, think about me or whatever, right? So then so to forgive was hard. It was a process I had to go through slowly. And in that process, I realized it's like a bondage. It ties you down, like that feeling. It's like a burden on me, on my mind. And it was just putting me down all the time. So until I cut it and let go, and that's when I felt the freedom completely, and I felt relieved. And now I can easily love that person. No matter what happened, everything was gone. But I had to intentionally, carefully go through the process and do it. So it's on one level, Vedantic level, it's okay to say the big me and everything, but we are living this life with the small me. We are not in the big me all the time, big I all the time. We live with the small I, we go through stuff, we talk, we feel the emotions, we have all these feelings. So at this level, you have to go through the process of thinking through it carefully and rationalizing it and seeing the big picture and saying, is it worth for me to carry on like this, or is it better for me to just let go? And when that happens, you feel the freedom automatically.
Yes, Jaybai, wanted to add.
So I'm trying to go for the first question. Are we still discussing?
Yes, we are
about-
discussing
okay.
that.
So the first question is how related to forgiveness. Love and forgiveness, in my 2 cents, they are completely two different entities. Love and forgiveness, like it doesn't mean that you are loving somebody, you need to forgive them. Sometimes you don't forgive them. They're completely different. So loving and forgiveness is completely two different aspects of that. It's not necessary that you know somebody is going to forgive every time, right? So do love does not have any attachment. The normal feeling of love is definitely is an attachment. What all we have is a normal love. So we all have attachments because of that normal love. What we are referring here, the love which is higher level of love, which is normally all this universal love, these spiritual leaders and all these elevated persons have that love is universal, which doesn't have any attachment. They love equally, even if you ignore them or you do whatever you want to do, they don't care. They just love it. Out of comparison, they just doesn't care. What they don't expect anything. And those are the people who also forgive easily. So that kind of forgiveness, which comes from the higher level of love, is completely related. That love can forgive easily, but the other love, what we have the normal level, we expect something and we don't forgive. If they do something, we don't forgive them.
Yeah.
So if you see all this today's the movies, you saw that
Yeah.
somebody loves some
Yeah.
girl and
Yeah.
in return they don't get, they go to extremes. They
Yes.
do all the bad things. They
Right.
don't forgive that. Oh, it's a mandate. You need to do that.
Yeah.
These are all the normal level love. So the
Yeah.
forgiveness is not there. So that's it.
So that's where I'm coming from. So just because you love the person, the expectation is to forgive because you love. But that is a very hard stance to take. In even in our regular lives, it doesn't matter what it is.
Okay, I don't understand that. Who expects that? I mean,
So
whose expectation is it? When
ours only.
Uh,
Ours or the person who has wronged will obviously feel, I'm part of family. They owe me this. I mean, we can move on from whatever happened, right?
So if I am wronged,
Mm.
I expect that person to forgive me. Is that what you are saying?
Isn't that so? If the person loves you, they will forgive. That
Yeah,
kind of expectation is there.
Jaiba was saying that love and forgiveness, they are opposite kind of. He said, just because you love, you don't
have
to forgive.
Yeah.
But I don't know if that is the right statement though.
Can you talk in the mic?
So it's not kind of expectation. You love somebody, oh, you are definitely going to forgive somebody. It's not like exactly proportional relation, right?
So is that kind of a conditional love then?
That's what our level, that's what
So
I'm
that's a
explaining.
conditional love. There's
That's
a difference.
conditional, exactly.
Unconditional love, it
Unconditional,
forgives and
yes.
forgets.
Exactly.
Right?
So that's what I was
So you are
explaining.
talking about the conditional love.
Conditional love, what we do.
In
So
today's
they both
world.
are
Okay,
the-
then
yeah.
expectation comes in that love.
So I do want to say sometimes forgiveness, yeah, is even at this level, forgiveness sometimes comes with time. So I want to quote a couple of examples.
You're saying forgiveness comes with time.
Yeah,
Mm.
the same thing which you did not want to. After years of thinking about it, you say, I wish I can go back to that situation and meet that person and forgive. So, of course, this happened in a very, in the teen years. So I was in college and I had three people. One actually started in high school itself. And for some reason, he did not say yes when I expected him to say yes. And so I won't talk to you. So, and so I maintained that the school thing. And then, of course, we graduated and we never spoke to each other since then after that. Then went to college. And there was one of my classmates, and if he has to go to dinner or thing, you should call me, and then we should go. And one day he just didn't do it. I think he looked for me, and I was not there, but he should have still tried to call. So that's it, and I won't talk to him. So like that, it happened to three people, and eventually, I had a chance to meet, the school guy first, and then said, okay, I'm so sorry that we didn't even, we split up like that, and so then we started, became friends. So just time healed, and then it came back. Same thing with the second guy. The third guy, I just cannot find him. He's here actually in Atlanta. The energy has not come to the point where I can call him and say, hey, how are,
Yeah.
I know that he's here in US. But so I think that, it changed. That's what I want to say.
Yeah,
that
Sairam,
time-
great
time-
example. Thank you.
time-
Yeah.
Support to say I will help you on that.
Yeah, go ahead, Venkati.
No.
I feel if we forgive somebody, you did me wrong, I forgive. You're a good girl, I forgive. am I still feeling the same love I did before that to the person? That is the thing. I've forgiven.
Yeah, no.
But do I really, truly, truly feel the same love I had before? Or it's a little crushed up or something, It's not the same, but it is there. Not the same, not the what it was.
It
Then
depends
what
on
is
the
forgiveness?
intensity of that situation. It depends on the intensity of a situation that
But love, if we forgive, that it has to be clean and
Clean.
clear. Gone, really gone. It doesn't go.
so in a today's world, in my mind, yes, it will be gone until the next thing happens, and I knew, Arey, I always knew this guy is
Then-
always like this.
Exactly. So did it really go? No.
No, it didn't. Yeah.
It did not go.
Yeah.
So what I'm feeling, forgive. Yes, I'm good. I can forgive everybody. And second, very soon something where she's saying, it's not this same person did it again. That's it. What is forgiveness? I think as far as Baba is concerned, he says it's gone, then it's really, really gone. Then it's real forgiveness. Huh?
I think
Baba has
that,
said that.
we can reach with universal,
Universal
love,
love.
unconditional love, if we are elevating ourselves to see the person as a divine person, no matter what action they do. I mean, action need not be condoned.
Yeah.
The action can be really pointed out, because there is nothing like always you forgive that action. It's not like that. If that action is adharmic,
Yeah.
then you need to condone it. I mean, sorry, you need to confront that person and point out that this is where I think you are wrong. And then the person may have, see, that's where that perception comes into picture, because in that person's point of view, that person may be right or may have some reason for doing that. So then you talk and then you resolve, and then that way you get that, and then you don't have any more remorse or grudge against that person. So if you don't do that, if you're still bottled up, as it's just like an acid, it's going to just burn you.
Yeah.
So that step, usually what happens is that first step is the biggest bottleneck. Our mind and the ego will play on us and say that person is wrong, so you cannot talk to that person. So we don't take that first step.
See, okay, that is good. But I want to point out with a real life experience, I won't name names, in the family, okay, let me say, the person keep on doing stuff. You forgive once, twice, it's a repeated offender. So how do you handle it? Like, how many times do you forgive? Keep on, no. Talking doesn't help. Talking, he can talk over you. So patience, okay? And then we can say, oh, he is always like that. Like Trump, we say, no? He is always like that. Whatever he says, okay. But it affects people's lives, okay? In many ways, financially or mentally. And the frustration comes. And if it's a close relative, you cannot divorce them. You cannot shut the door. So you have to coexist. And then you keep on. So to forgive also, they should also realize what it is that they are doing. All adults, it is so hard. For a child, you can teach lessons. You can tell them by stories, by examples, or whatever. But a grown-up are so set in their ways. Sometimes you may try so hard, okay, and it doesn't work. Now the person is dead also. There is no point anymore, okay? But it's not black and white all the time.
Correct.
It is not that, oh, I can forgive, I do it. It doesn't work many times.
So I feel like, fire, for example, you know that it burns you, but also it helps you in so many ways. So you have to understand that, you cannot really change a person. That is what it is. A fire will remain a fire. You cannot change the fire.
Right.
Similarly, that person will remain a person. That person has to understand and make changes to themselves.
Right.
So the only thing that we can do is forgive. As both Uma and Shobha said, forgive. If we don't forgive, it just burns us.
Right.
So we have to forgive them. And it has happened to me, and I have done that, and it has helped me also, as Shobha said. So forgive that person, but know that that person is that character, that is what their nature is,
Yeah.
and react in such a way that you do not have that,
One
that
minute.
emotion.
I have to
bring that
ask
emotion.
Vijayji to.
Yeah, I have one
so-
question. Forgiveness, I think you said, I personally feel that forgiveness should be followed by an action. So you cannot simply, in the mind, in the internally you say, okay, I forgive, I have forgiven a person who hurt you. But just by merely thinking that, okay, I have forgiven a person. So I feel that forgiveness should also be followed by an action. So for example, person A, person B, there are some rift between these two persons and they are not talking to each other. So maybe person B committed a mistake, person A is hurt. And so person A, he said, okay, I already, I'm forgiving person B. I mean, how does the person B know that, okay, he wanted to maintain the relationship? I think what I feel is once the forgiveness is already there, it should be followed by an action. If person A is hurt, but still no, just merely saying forgiveness, so he should also go on, try to maintain the relationship with person B. Try your best. Go and talk to the person B. Tell him that, okay, I'm not hurt by your feelings, but this is what mistake this is what you hurt my feelings. So please try to see that it is not repeated again. So in spite of trying many times, if that person is not changing, then you just leave it like that. So what I feel is forgiveness should be followed by an action. So without that action, there's nothing wrong. I mean, there's no point in just saying, oh, I forgive that person.
So I'm going to state couple of statements which will be kind of very tricky and controversial. Maybe it looks like. I'll tell exactly.
Yeah, no, you're fine. Please go ahead.
Past it.
Yeah.
So the first thing, the forgiveness is valid only when the person who is forgiving is very strong. In the sense, it may be any kind of perception. When you talk strong, it's not physical, it can be anything in the strong strengths. How, for example, let's take a person is there who is very weak and normal, and some guy who is doing gym and well-built body coming and unnecessarily slapping that guy. And now you say, I forgive you. Does it really carry the value? It doesn't, because you can't do anything just to say, I'm forgiving you, because you can't go and hit that person because this is already well built. He can slap 3-4 times if you talk something else also. So that's the very typical characteristic of forgiveness is, unless you are stronger in some sense that you are in a place where you can forgive the other person, where you can take action on that one. If I can hit, if I'm also well built and I'm as strong as that other person, and if I'm able to hit him reverse, if I forgive him, that's valid. If I'm not, if I'm very weak person and I'm scared of him, and I say, oh, you are forgiven, doesn't have value. So the forgiveness factor is very critical part of the life, where you can take action, but you are not taking, and you are excusing that person even though you are capable of taking action. That's called forgiveness.
Yeah.
The next critical part is, if somebody is not asking forgiveness, you are giving forgive is not valid. Forgiveness comes into the picture when somebody comes and says, I am sorry for that. Then you say, yes, I accept your. So if you see most of the here, the culture, people go and tell apologies, right? The other person, I accept your apology.
Yeah.
That they say that whatever you did, I recognize that you did something to me, and you're coming back with telling that you realized the mistake and now you're apologizing. I accept it, means you're forgiving that person. You're not keeping it in the mind anymore. It doesn't mean you don't need to worry about it. I mean, if somebody did something to you and you are not forgiving him, that means he didn't come to you to ask any forgiveness, but you do not carry that feeling always inside at the same time. But if that person is not at all coming to you, where is the chance of forgiving somebody? Nobody is coming to you, I'm ready to forgive. It doesn't have any value. So those are the very critical points when it comes to the forgive, like the action, that what Vijay said, it matches the same way. So that's action supposed to be taken, and then you're forgiving. Fine.
Yeah. Bhargav, yes,
Yeah,
please go ahead.
well, I sort of disagree. I think because my definition of forgiveness is the releasing of resentment or
Right.
vengeance on a group of people or a person. So even if they don't make an action, we should still not hold that resentment or feelings of hatred towards them. So that's honestly how I was perceiving through everything. And yeah.
Yeah, that is exactly what I was going to say, is that so the strong man and the weak man you were saying hit you, don't have to say forgive, but even if they hold that anger inside them, then so right?
Yeah.
So
Yes.
correct. So that is the releasing, no resentment, nothing, that you are releasing yourself from all that stuff. That is critical. That is the forgive. And action will automatically follow that release. If you release that from your mind, every action, as Shobha said, you interact with the person, that doesn't come to your mind. Whatever they did doesn't come to your mind. It is just because it has all been released.
Yeah, it's a process.
See, if we are living with two people living together, and the opposite, you have to bear with it. Any family, it happens everywhere, nothing big deal. And you have to bear it. You want to forgive. Today you forgive. 20 days you forgive. And that 21st hammer, what they call a Baba's hammer, 21st hammer, it's going to break. Something has to come out of it. We may not be together. One could be dead, one could be gone, whatever it might, doesn't matter. And we're not together. So that'll be the end of it. But then there has to be a limit of it in a real life, I'm saying. If it's not going to end, if that is the way it's going to be all your life, then you have to decide, what do I want? Do I want to live that way or don't want to? And that's a very practical thinking and approach, I feel.
To make a
look-
conscious
Huh?
choice. Conscious choice.
Very conscious choice. I can't live it anymore. I did so many years. That's the end of then. I can't do it. Take some action. Should take. You can't do it.
Sairam, the best person who is known for forgiving is Mahatma Gandhi.
Yes.
So even when he was shot, that Godse, he said, don't shoot him while he was, he didn't want that person to be killed.
Yeah.
So he was such a person who could forgive. See, forgiving a person is different from condoning the action. So that is where I think we usually mix these two.
Yeah.
When somebody does something we don't like, we immediately connect it to the person. So if we are able to delink that, that is the first requirement. So forgive. So to address Dhananjay's point as to a weak and a strong person, even a weak person, if that person feels that the action is wrong, done by the strong person, the weak person should be able to confront, even if not individually, should be able to form a group just like Gandhi did. Gandhi was fighting the big British Empire. So how was he able to do? Because he formed a big support group, and he did all in a ahimsa way.
Yeah.
And so he knew, of course, how to handle it. But so you can find a way to. So that doesn't mean that all actions need to be forgiven. So I think the actions need to be confronted, because any adharma we have to fight. That's what Krishna says. We have to fight.
Yeah.
But not the person. So with the person, we should be able to say, like Dharmaraja, he forgave his Dhritarashtra in spite of Dhritarashtra doing so much harm to him.
Right.
So I think that is what we need to do.
Yes, Sairam, thank you. And I think that's a great way to kind of lead into, I think we talked a little bit about universal love. We'll come back to it later, because we do know that, recognizing everyone is divine is what it is, and how we develop it, we can always come back to it. The reason I say that is because I think now we should talk about love for the sake of love alone. And Swami calls that bhakti. So we all sitting in this room, we do realize at some point we do feel that we are on the path of devotion, path of bhakti. How much of that, like, are we reflecting that kind of love towards Swami, or is it, it goes up and down in waves? It's not always It's not being a constant, or is that a constant for you? To kind of recognize that.
See, the way I see the love for Swami can mean differently for each person.
There is only one love.
No, love for, see, I'm saying because we are not evolved to that
To
level.
that level.
So
Okay.
that love for Swami is even today I was listening to a discourse where Swami says, I am divine, but so are you, right? So Swami never said that I am God, so pray to me. So he never said that. So when you are able to treat Swami or any divinity in the same manner as you would to treat you or anybody else, that is that level of love. So that is Advaita. So we are able to see the Brahman in everybody. Then there is a connection. That is the universal love. So that if we are able to do that in a situation, so they are all connected. Bhakti and that Brahman, seeing the Brahman in everybody is all connected. So there is no distinction there.
So in Sairam, in the bhakti is also described in many ways, not one way. I think the Kashmiri Vaishnava, Shaivism describes it, right? Like as a friend, like and as a husband, Mirabai. That's not normal husband.
Right.
That's a divine husband, right?
Yeah.
And then as a friend, like
Yes.
a Sakha. So they divided it into the Asyam also is
Right,
devotion.
right. Yeah, the
So 6, I
9
think.
parts. Yeah,
Yeah,
9.
9. Okay, so I
9,
think
right? Navavidha Bhakti. Yes.
so. Then so it is in. So you start somewhere, whatever makes sense to you, and then you build it up in stages to that highest level. Is what I understand.
That's very good point. Thank you.
Or you can just stick to one.
Yeah.
We don't have to go step by step. Whichever
nice-
one
Yeah.
is, appealing, that whichever one you can connect to
Mm.
the higher power, divine,
Right.
that is the best.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. I don't know if it is in a step like that,
No.
because the final one is Atma Nivedanam.
Yeah.
But Atma Nivedanam means
Everything.
you see the divinity in yourself.
Yeah.
Like that's how I interpret that.
So one thing I remember, you mentioned Mahatma Gandhi. So actually, in one of the books, I think probably Nehru wrote, he talks about Mahatma Gandhi, where he actually says, he there are two ways with dealing with people. One is Trump way, just suppress everybody, I'm the superior person. The other one that Gandhi followed apparently was elevate yourself. You show that, everybody is, you're all good. Everybody is in high level. I am higher.
Yeah.
Elevate yourself to a position where they see the respect. So they are not demeaning anybody, so I think that also is a form of love
Universal.
and devotion.
Yeah. Thank you. That will also connect well with universal devotion. If we can actually elevate the society as a whole, then there are certain things that we can definitely achieve from that kind of love. And I was just going to point out that it's a great way to talk about Mirabai and Yashoda's love, as a mother, Shabari's love as a mother. A lot of those examples that we have in our scriptures is defined through those 9 ways of bhakti. Absolutely. So, okay. So let's kind of pivot a little bit, talking about ourselves right now, right? Does forgiving others make you stronger? I know we talked about how that will, it will impact you. And then we also need to discern what actions are worth forgiving. Don't we have to? I mean, not every action can be forgiven or should be forgiven.
I think every action should be forgiven because the forgiveness is just about releasing that resentment towards the other person. So, yeah, like Rama should. I believe personally that Rama forgave Ravana before everything happened, but he had to do his dharmic duty of defeating Ravana because he was doing adharmic stuff.
Yeah.
Also, Kaikeyi, he forgave Bharata didn't forgive his own mother for sending Rama to the forest. But how can we discern what actions are worth forgiving? See, if we discriminate, A, B, C are worth forgiving, and E, F, G, whatever is not. And then I don't know if we are doing the right thing. Suppose forgiving the foundation is love, then you forgive. You may not forget, okay? There is a distinction. You may not forget what happened or what was done to you or whatever. But forgiving, I believe it should be even. You forgive.
But-
It is for your own sake. See, if you don't forgive certain things, that is going to bother us more than it bothers the other person. So for our own sake, it is all in our mind, in our heart. So for us to have the peace and growth, see, if you take us, for example, we do so many things and then we run back to God. We go to Swami, sorry, if you don't have to admit to anybody else, well, little things, whatever
Yeah.
he says, we don't follow everything.
Yeah.
And then we expect him to forgive everything and again, shower us with whatever we are asking. So if we expect that from God and you expect him to forgive you each and every time, he keeps on talking about so many things, we don't practice any of them. Right?
Yes.
And then we go back and say, oh, please, this time, give me this, give me that, or whatever. So if we expect that from him, then we can also practice some of it. Why would God forgive us for whatever we do and then give us more and more and more, whatever we want? If he doesn't give us more and more, he is fired. God is not there for. So we switch. Okay, this Sai Baba is useless. I'm going to follow that guru.
Yeah.
That's what happens.
Yes, that is so true.
One
Saira,
Swamiji, in a funny way, said, like, God stays like this, right? Abhaya Hastam. He said,
Yeah.
it's not Abhaya. He's like, stop, human beings. Don't come. More and more.
Saira,
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead. Well,
Yeah,
one
go
thing
ahead.
I want to say something about, why before we talk about forgiveness and people do some action. We don't. So one thing is again the karma thing and all those things come in. So some people's behavior, repeatedly they keep doing the same thing. And
Correct.
so one incident that came to my mind was, something that Phyllis Crystal, the first book actually, Soumya gave me that book when I started re-entering into Swami fold. One of the incidents was, she was going to Puttaparthi very regularly.
Mhm.
She usually gets a spot very close to Swami. And one particular time, but when she got there, there was not much space available. So she was actually behind a pillar. And so, could not get a good, she just closed her eyes and then sitting there. And then there was some commotion.
Hmm.
So she just opened her eyes and saw that there was a elderly woman sitting with a young child. The child was obviously suffering. And Swami was walking, gave darshan, and then just skipped that particular child, and then walked on. And it kind of bothered her.
Right.
And of course, I know she wanted to ask Swami, but uh, she did not have access that day. She should have had. So she just closed her eyes. And suddenly this vision came into her, and the vision was Swami came and said, there was one, a judge, and then there was his assistant. So the judge, cases will come for disposition, and the judge, will just ask the assistant. The assistant was not, a great guy.
Yeah.
So he always will say, okay, give this punishment. And the punishment was much
Harsh.
stronger, harsher than
Yeah.
what the punisher, the crime, really asked for. He kept on doing that. And then eventually, this, you know, Swami comes in and then he says, he saw that scene, and that child is that mother now. That assistant
Assistant is the mother.
Is the mother,
Yeah.
and the child is the judge. So
Yeah.
now you tell me, should I wipe it off?
Right.
Such a crime.
Yeah.
So what we probably have to look in that angle before we decide whether to forgive or not. When you go into that angle, that maybe we did something in the previous life that they are doing it now.
Right.
So, that's
But we don't have
coming to
that
this
power.
part of how to get to that higher level of understanding.
Right, right. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think Rajiv ji wanted to say something. Yes, please go ahead. Rajiv ji, boliye. नहीं,
Sairam,
yeah.
a quick thing. See, I don't know whether we can forgive the action. For
That's
example,
exactly where I was
see,
going with that.
action,
Yes.
action, if that action is wrong, for example, this Calcutta case,
Yeah.
right? How can we forgive that action? That action is wrong. Okay. The person we can forgive if that person realizes that mistake, and that also, that's probably an extreme case.
Yeah.
But even in a, it's not black and white. Sometimes it's our perception versus the other person's perception. That's where the difference comes. Usually that there's a rift because each one thinks they are right, the other person is wrong. So when the two persons talk to each other, they may be able to resolve. And that first step, there is the ego that stops from taking that first step. But action, if that action is wrong, I don't think we should forgive the action. We may be able to forgive that person, but until that action is accounted for and taken proper steps, so that if it is adharmic, that should not happen again. So until that change happens somehow to either reduce that or stop that, it's not done yet. That's
See,
what I
I would call what you're saying, Venkat, it should be mutual. That what amounts to. Two people just can't get along. Okay, all the time roughness. So, and you forgive. Even 2, 20, 100 times you forgive. It won't work because there's not mutual. If you don't understand that I let go and I forgive, and if you keep doing it again, then that's not mutual. There has to be a mutual understanding in two people. If you want to make forgiving practical reality, put it that way, truth. Yeah, I forgave a person and I made a mistake. Okay, I made a mistake again. I won't do it again. 10 times, 2 times. Learn someday that you don't do it. So I consider that as mutual understanding of forgiveness. Otherwise, it does not carry any weight. From practical point of view, I'm talking, and that applies to everywhere. I can forgive 10 times, 11 times. Hey, I don't want to go there then. Because the person doesn't understand. There's no mutual understanding. I feel that is very, very important. Forgiveness
So
have
I
to
just
be
want to
mutual.
summarize. All the discussion was very nice, healthy. But as scientifically we talk about, every aspect has a prerequisites necessary. To forgive, you have to surrender your ego. If you are not able to surrender, you cannot forgive.
Who is going to surrender? The person who made the mistake?
Are we talking
I-
action? Are we talking person?
Person.
Person.
Person's
Yes,
ego is going to prevent that person to forgive, number one. And the person who is asking for forgiveness should realize what he or she has done. So two things are very necessary. For understanding tissue, you have to know the cell first, right? You can't understand tissue before knowing the cell. So what I'm saying is there's a prerequisite for everything. So surrendering or enunciating the ego can help us a lot. That's
Sorry.
I just want to make a point that forgiving or not forgiving the action of others, who are we to do that? First of all,
I knew you would
Are-
ask that question.
yes,
Actually,
I'm waiting turn. So are we judging here? See, just now Shankaran said that Phyllis Crystal saw this blind child. Actually, the child was blind and the mother was holding. Everybody was
Correct.
pitying them. And Swami seems to be so cold-hearted. And we don't know the previous Janma story. We don't even know what happened yesterday in somebody else's life. So in that way, if you look at the whatever incidents affects us the deepest, like I said yesterday, it is close to home in my country, my people, it affects me so much. Million things are happening around the world, okay? We cannot be sitting in judgment and say, he shouldn't have done that, she shouldn't have gone there, or whatever it is. We don't know the whole picture. So what we can do is only if you want to focus on forgiving, doesn't matter who does the action or whatever is the action, we just, Swami keeps saying, develop love. If you develop love, whether you forgive or not, it doesn't matter to anybody. How does it matter? For the person who committed the atrocity, it doesn't matter a dime for him or her if we all say we forgive you.
Yeah.
It doesn't. So think deeply about it. It doesn't matter to us also. What is happening outside, I don't care. I focus on myself. I develop all these qualities in myself to forgive, to love, compassion, devotion, my spiritual action. Focus on that. Each one of us, if we do that, automatically other things will fall in place.
Sarah.
Yes, Sairam, I completely agree. First of all, it's not a give and take. It's not a bargaining thing, forgiveness. It's like Bhargav repeatedly said, it is you, about you releasing that resentment, that feelings of whatever it may be. It could be the most horrendous action, or we don't have a choice. You can live in that bondage of holding it in. It'll only bring you down. So you
Right.
decide for yourself. You want to live with that bondage, with that weight. And if you believe in the reincarnation and janmas, then that is the vasana you're going to carry.
Right.
You're going to come back. If that is not if you believe that, then it is more important to do the forgiveness and the loving and letting go.
Yeah. Perfect. Thank you. Yes, Jay, by last. Sorry.
Okay, so I'm going to the first questions again here, which I'm again repeating that one. Does forgiving the others? Can you go to that question?
Which one? This
The,
one.
the first question. Others
Forgiving
make you
others.
stronger. I already mentioned. If you're stronger, then only you will be able to
Not
forgive.
physically, Jay,
I
by.
mean, that's what I'm saying. We are taking word to word. What I'm saying is,
Ah,
if you have an ability to take action, it can be physical, it can be anything else, maybe power, you have money, you have something else to take action on the other person doing right. It's not, I just used an example, physically beating, but it's not one to one. What I'm talking is, if somebody did something to you and you have, for example, I'm a political leader, I can take some action on him. I can forgive that person. I have money. I can do something using my money, or I have power. I can do something, some action to affect the other person who did something to me. There are so many ways you can take an action, right? It's
yeah.
not just a physical. That's the
Agree.
power I'm
I
talking.
have to table this and we will come back the next time we have this discussion. Next week, we will be actually, we can talk about it if you want to continue this or you want to pivot from here. But with that, I wanted to just end with Om and three Shantis because we are at time. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Sai Ram, and thank you all for participating today.